So today's quick video is all about supporting our writing process for the research project. Um, so basically what I've done is, as you can see here, I've created a document kind of like for my work for the research project. So this is kind of, the document here is titled The Research Project, the Teacher's Drafting Process. So in this first video, I will look at how to utilize our existing template. Now I just wanted to state very clearly, I put up these worksheets, these template worksheets, in order to help guide our work processes, but also at the same time, I'm expecting you to use these worksheets with your major writing projects so that I can see your thinking, your drafting, your outlining. So we're looking at all the steps of the writing process. I don't just want to see the finished product, I want to see how you got there. So in order to receive full points on your final draft, I will need to see your work through the worksheet template in order for me to assess your process. Okay, so if you see, here we are, and yeah, it's got the research project, it's round one, so that was the initial template that I put up. Now, if we scroll down, you can see we've got the purpose points outlined here, and I've done some highlighting for myself, just as a reminder. And then if we go down, you'll notice here is the second part where I had all of my brainstorming. So I love to see this as a teacher when I come in to mark your work. If I can see how you've built out your ideas, I can kind of give you credit for your efforts. I can give you credit for your processes and for your strategies. And also I get to see the evolution of your document and of your thinking, right? Which is pretty cool. So then you'll notice, everything's here, like including my upgraded analysis modality, right? And even my draft of my thesis statement, my first draft, and then down here in this kind of working template that has all of the section markers, I've even upgraded to my second draft of my thesis. So let's quickly reread that just to help us focus in on what the topic is. Since AI-driven writing tools have been demonstrated to decelerate cognition, students and teachers should continue to develop and sharpen learned critical thinking skills, moreover, bulletproofing human-centered skills will be practiced. So we might, if we were looking at this from the perspective of an editor, which we should always be doing when we do this read aloud process, is one of our key editing tools. When we read out loud, we get a second chance to engage with the idea. So I'm noticing some repetitive wording here, and I just highlight that in yellow as an indication to myself that I want to upgrade this. So let's push on. Bulletproofing human-centered skills will be practiced, tracked, analyzed, and upgraded through a traditional IMRAD research paper platform, and now I'm going to have my list of the sections, methods and measures, reading and research, analysis, and discussion. Now remember, this is just a draft, so we can always upgrade and change. So you'll notice then that I've built out all my ideas here in the template. So those questions were put in there to help guide your thinking processes. What are the methods, what are the thinking methods incorporated, and what human thinking and brainstorming were utilized, and how will you generate your analysis modalities. Like, these are all important things you need to discuss in your methods paragraph. So let's scroll down. So this is all I've done this work prior to today's work. And so then you can see that once you go past all of this kind of thinking and developmental piece, you're going to come to a page break, and then now I have the draft of my project that I'm building. So you'll notice we want it to be centered. You put the assignment type here, the course, the student name goes there. This is my old student number from back during my undergraduate years. I can still remember it. So I'm just putting it on there. You'll put your VIU student number up here. And then my title, Developing Durable and Transferable Skills for Future Employment, AI and its impacts on human-based skills. So you can kind of see where I'm going just even through the title. So now we drop down, and you'll notice I have put out kind of, we call these like sectional headers, or like, I think they're called subtitles under the APA methodology. And what you can see is that I've just gathered the component pieces of writing that I've done previously into the section. So this is introduction, approaching research from a human-based focus, okay? And then we've got my methods paragraph. This is a brand new paragraph that I just wrote earlier today. So I'll read through this in a second to give you an idea of what your methods paragraph should look like. So I took the brainstorming that I did up above in the template, and I've transferred it into this drafted paragraph. Now, I will still upgrade this before my final submission, but your bigger writing projects like this research project are going to be a stage-based process. So you should have multiple writing sessions planned into your weekly planner. So then what you'll notice, I've actually pulled the exact data out of that framework from above and copied it into a working box here. This is a method that I think is very strong. So I put all that data from the template into this box, and then I kind of read through it all, and then I convert that into my drafted paragraph. So it's almost like a method of advanced paraphrasing. And what I'm doing is I'm upgrading my my thinking from that raw format into a more cohesive, hopefully a more cohesive, not finalized product, but kind of a mid-stage product here. Good. And so then you'll notice my methods paragraph is finished, right? My introduction is finished. Now the introduction, you can see I've left in some of those markers that I want certain sections to be upgraded, right? And I've highlighted as well this complex A structure that I used at the beginning of my thesis in order to kind of set up, here's the counter argument. So don't forget that in this particular project, in the analysis paragraph, and I'll be putting up a video on that analysis paragraph tomorrow. I'm actually going to write it live. So we're doing video 1 today. We'll do video 2 tomorrow. And then you can see that I've kind of set the next titles, right? So findings, I'll write a paragraph on skills development, what I found through my reading and whatnot. And then the analysis is that well-rounded 360-degree perspective. And so you notice again, I've done some of the initial work. So I've copied and pasted my initial thinking and my initial work into this box. This will be my kind of idea box, and then I'll do the drafting, and you'll see the video for that tomorrow. Okay, so let's go all the way back up to the very top of our document. Now, first things first. You're like, wow, he's been talking a lot already, right? Yes, and yes, you guys know my style. I flow through it and I teach organically. But when we have a document like this, the very first thing you need to do is add your header. So in Word, you add your header by double-clicking on this top little ribbon of the document itself. So I want you to type in your last name. I'm putting my last name, but you're going to put in your last name, first initial. Then we're going to add our class code, and we're going to have F25. That's just because it's the fall semester of 2025, and W01. That's the marker for our class. And then we'll say the research project human skills first. Okay, and then I go over to my page marker. Now, please note, depending on what draft or what version of Microsoft Word you're using, when you go to plug in your page number, it could make this work you've just written in disappear. So in order to prevent that, I always grab the work first, highlight it there, and then I'm going to, you can even, I use Command C, that's to copy it, or you could use Command X, that would make it disappear. It means you've chopped it out of there, but you can paste it in a second again. So I'm going to add page marker on the right, and then I do Control V, and it puts in my header again. So this header is important. It gives your last name, first initial, our course code, the fall semester, the project itself, and kind of a brief, very succinct paraphrased version of your title. Titles, by the way, in APA should be italicized. Okay, so now the header is complete. You double click back on the main document. Now always, when we're working, we save our work after every kind of significant change because we don't want to lose that valuable energy and time put in. So now let's scroll back down and let's take a look at, so you can see, like, I've done all this initial work in the template, right? Like my introduction section, my hook, my rationale, my thesis statement, then each of the method questions I've answered. And notice in the template, it gives you these guiding kind of how long, like the word window, what should it be? So if we go down to my working draft, you'll notice that I have started working on my introduction, but let's go through and do a bit of editing and improvement. So I'm going to, first things first, I'm going to grab all of this and I'm going to convert it into the proper color. Second thing, I want it to be double spaced. Those are APA standards. Third thing, I want, so I'll slow down. So when you want to work with a paragraph, you're changing the parameters of a paragraph. I get excited and I start to, really go quickly. My students constantly remind me, teacher, slow down a bit, take it easy on us. And I've been doing it for many, many years, so it's second nature to me. Now, what else should we be looking at here? So just a reminder, you can go to your spacing bar, you can make it single spaced, right? If you go to this little window here, this little marker with the two blue arrows, that shows the spacing. So I'm going to make it double spaced, okay? Second point, we want all the main body sections, when they're moving into their final drafted version, they should be 14-point font. Now, for the style of font, we want it to be either Arial, Times New Roman, or Calibri. I'm going to go with Arial because those are the three font styles that APA promotes and uses. So you'll notice already this one, I already put it into the Arial font. So your titles, if you do want to put in these subtitle sectional headings, they can be 16-point font, the size, and they can be made bold. But they should also be consistent. Like if your main body's Arial, then also the title should be Arial. Okay, so these are all formatting pieces, but I kind of call it the easy marks, the low-hanging fruit on the tree, right? You shouldn't make mistakes with this stuff. If you do, you will lose points. Okay, final point, we want to indent our introduction paragraph. Okay, great. So we can see that we're getting there now. Our introduction's almost done, right? So let's read through and do a quick edit. The old saying goes that if you can teach a person to fish, you've given them fish for life. However, what happens if you build a robot to fish and then charge the person money to buy, maintain, and use that robot? Comma, a question mark. So it's kind of a metaphor with a question wrapped up together. And you can see I'm using some of my advanced writing tools. This is our starter E sentence formula, which we use to create cohesion and guide the way that the ideas relate to each other. Okay, keep going. As the global work reality continues to shift, companies will continue to seek efficiencies in their staffing costs. For future employment candidates, this means that AI bots will become a new form of competition. Semicolon, moreover, comma, these are competitors that do not need breaks, don't feel fatigue, and complete tasks with ruthless efficiency. Furthermore, these tools will be implemented whenever they can cut overhead for businesses. That makes perfect sense because costs versus profits is the bottom line in business. However, to remain relevant and employable, so I'm framing the background of why I've selected my topic, right? And you should have the same type of components. Now, you'll note I've put in some highlighter marks to upgrade my work, right? So I could just remove that word to remove the redundancy, that repetitiveness of wording. Okay, keep going. Good. So businesses, whenever they can cut costs, cut overhead for businesses, that makes perfect sense. I also think don't feel fatigue. Good. So furthermore, these tools will be implemented whenever they can cut costs, can cut overhead for businesses. And this one here, I think we could change this to a which clause a little bit using one of our level 4 sentences. And then we can say that we've done our job as editors. Good. However, to remain relevant and employable, future employees will need to incorporate AI supports into their professional skills. But perhaps more importantly, build an even more robust array of human-based skills.